Hello, I'm Forrest Tanaka, and I work on the UI for the IGVF portal. And this is the last week of July. We just did a software release of version 8.14.0. And so I wanted to go over all the things that changed with the UI specifically in the month of July. And if you didn't know, you can actually find out what version is running on the portal by going to About, IGVF, and you'll see the version of the UI here and the version of the server here. Again, I'm not covering the server, so any changes to schemas I'm not covering in this video. So 8.14.0, released today, 8.14.0. Okay, let's start down the list. I won't go over all of these because they're not always that interesting or easy to demonstrate. But let's start with add report links to tables. We've had this for quite a while, but we've gradually been increasing the number of report links, or the number of types of tables that have report links. Let's try in tissue. And so, yeah, here's the multiplexed in samples. Notice it has 8 items. And let's take a note of the first couple. One ends in SYRC. Next one ends in RVUC. If we go to the report view, you'll see 8 items. And if you sort by ID, SYRC, RVUC. So it's the same list, just in report form. So we've, as I said, we've been filling more tables out with these buttons. You'll notice, like with the donors table, we still don't have that button. I don't know if we ever will or not. But we have more and more of these in the month of July. TypeScript change, that's an internal change. Scrollable report view. Scrollable report column selection modal. So when you're in a report view, let's go to tissue again. Here's the report view for tissues. You get this modal, right, that lets you select or hide specific columns. If you're on a small screen or there's just a lot of columns possible, you may actually run out of vertical space to show all these columns, which we can sort of simulate if we go like this. Yeah. So now there's too many columns to show in the modal, but if you scroll a little, you get these little icons to show you that there's more stuff. So now you can scroll it. The scrolling is totally new. Before, it would just run off the bottom of the screen. You could scroll the whole page, but that actually had some problems with it in the Safari browser. Also, if you click these buttons that show up, it'll scroll in that direction all the way down like that. And if you just let things go for a couple seconds, they disappear until you scroll again. So that's what that is. You probably won't come across this a lot because you may have a big enough screen, but if it does come up, that is the fix for that. Let's see, so 8.11.1 was a bug fix. Let's see, 8.12, let's see, modify tables on analysis at summary page. Yeah, that's a little bit hard to demonstrate, as is this derived from file table report link. We might be able to demonstrate that, assuming we have tabular files, which I don't know if we do. Oh, yes, we do. And do we have any with a derived from? And yes, we do. Okay. So derived from apparently didn't have a report link before, but now it does. Wow, 242 items. 242 items. That's a lot. Okay. Awesome. Let's see. Batch download. Right. Well, let's take a look at that. That applies to file set tables. Sorry, that applies to file set objects. So let's take a look if we have some good files here. This is sort of a nascent feature right now. We'll improve it as we go along. Yeah, this will work. So you'll notice a list of 7 files here. We have the report link, but we now have this new button with the download icon in it, and it gives you a very short tooltip. Download files associated with this file set. Go ahead and click it. Alright, so now we get this modal. Gives you some instructions. It also gives you a command line to actually download the files, because this doesn't download the files, it downloads a list of files that you can then feed into this command line. There's also this little button here to copy this command line, or you can just do it the normal way. Then you can click download, and I hope it downloaded. Oh yes, there it went. Let's see. Alright. Yeah, there we go. Hopefully the same files, ytgz, ytgz. Right there. Are there 7? Doesn't look like 7. Oh yes, there are 7. Okay. Sometimes you can get a different number depending on conditions. And so that's batch. Oh, and also if you go to a list view or a report view, you also get for a file set type, you also get the download button. And that lets you download files associated with all the file sets that show up in the list or the report. And they're affected by these filters. If you only wanted the files associated with mus musculus, you download, you'll only get the files associated with mus musculus. Okay. Let's see, so batch download, add social links and navigation. We had the social links for quite a while, but we had them on a help page. When we reorganized the help pages, we lost the social links, so we moved them to just below navigation. So on the left is the link to the help desk email, so there you go. And on the right is the link to the IGVF Consortium X feed or Twitter feed. Yeah, I don't have a X account, and I don't have access to the IGVF one, so you don't see anything. But if you have an X account, you'll be able to see the IGVF feed. I don't even know how active it is. So that's that one. Then we go to 8.13. Update UI for CRISPR modification and Degron modification. So this is the closest I'll get this month to talking about a schema change, because we used to have a modification object, and we no longer do, because they've been split into CRISPR modifications and Degron modifications. So you can look at their schemas here. And where are we? Degron modification over here. And you can even look at some here. We don't have any Degron modifications in the database yet. But the UI change was to make sure this was working and the actual pages work. Okay. Limit number of selectable report columns. This is a very, very unusual situation, but it could cause a crash before. So I wanted to fix that. If you're in a report view that actually has results, but it has to be a type with lots of columns, item. So you wouldn't normally do a search on item. That's not very useful, but that's where this came up. If you select the columns, you'll see lots and lots of columns, because this is all the columns possible in the system. And the problem is, when you change the number of columns, that adds to the URL length. At a certain point, you could select so many columns, it went right through the maximum size of the URL. So I made a limit, and you can see down here, I have 4 columns, 1, 2, 3, 4 columns shown of 120 maximum. You'll only see this 120 maximum if you have more than 120 columns. And so now, when I say show all, it shows up to 120. Notice there's a whole bunch of columns that aren't selected and are not selectable because they're beyond the 120 maximum. So this is just to avoid a crash in a very, very unusual situation. Okay, now we go to 8.14, support encode DBXref links. These are external resource links. I don't know if we have any. It's sort of hard to demonstrate, but we now have external resources that can refer to encode resources. Display tabular files on auxiliary sets page. That may be difficult to demonstrate. Sort and filter page editor lists. That's an internal issue. And standalone file set chart page. Yeah, so when you go to the home page, you get these charts. We got a request to be able to embed this chart on another website. And if they just use this URL, then they get all the navigation and all that stuff, which they didn't want. But now if you use the URL that and then content file set chart, now you get just that chart with no other UI and with no links either, which you can embed on another website. So cool. And that's it. Those are the changes for the month of July. Hopefully they're quite useful to you. And I will see you again at the end of August 2024.